Oh, that's my... Don't you look at my list! Don't you look at my list! Guys, she's trying to cheat and look at my list. Shh, please, Ari.
Oh, you know what she might be barking at? Look at on the roof, cleaning her window.
Oh gosh, she's insane.
The cicadas are really cicadaing today.
Oh, the cicadas. It's giving Oceanic Feeling by Lorde.
It is. Oh, we're giving such
This is why Oceanic Feeling is my favourite song on...
The cicadas, the Australian vibe.
On Solar Power. Yeah, it just feels like Australian summer. She did something with that song.
Anyway.
Now, why are you all the way over there?
Am I?
I don't know, maybe you're not.
Okay, hi guys. Welcome back to another ranking. Today we are ranking Miss Taylor Swift's album closes. And oh my fucking god, what a task.
This was definitely more difficult than the album openers.
I agree. And I think it's because like her album openers are amazing, but I truly feel like her album closes are like some of the best songs she's ever written.
I completely agree. And there's multiple album closes that are like in my favorite Taylor Swift songs of all time. But obviously in the same way that we did the album opener ranking, we have approached this with more of a mindset of like, what song closes the album best and not what are our favorite songs that are closes. This one was also a little bit more difficult. We had to have like a bit of a chat about how to approach this because, you know, an album opener is an album opener. It doesn't change, right? But album closes, there are the real true album closer, but then there are bonus tracks, deluxe album closes, and then there are also vault track closes. So what we've decided to do today is we are ranking the 10 true album closes on each of these albums. But then what we've decided to do is let each of us have 3 honorable mentions that can be from a pool of either the deluxe closes or vault track closes, whatever you want to bring up if you feel it's relevant to closing out the album. So that's how we've approached this situation.
It's hard to narrow it down to 3.
It's definitely hard. I'm really excited to see your entire list, but also your 3 honorable mentions because I do feel like there is a chance that we're going to have a slight difference compared to our openers list, which there were some similarities there.
I think we could surprise ourselves, but I think that because this selection of songs are so superior, you really could go any way with it. I would respect like a few different options when it comes to this list, whereas like the openers felt a lot more certain to me.
It was clear. It was clear. I
whereas
completely
this
agree.
could be more jumbled. So I am excited to see what we've done, and I'm excited to discuss because oh my god, there's all such a superior collection of songs.
They are. I think that I might have started last time, so I think that you should take us away. You need to tell us your least favorite album closer.
Oh, it's so offensive
immediately
because it's still such a superior song.
I know.
My number 10 is Our Song. Is it also yours?
It's also mine.
I was like, that could go. I'm like, I think we might be suiting similarly on this one.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. Obviously, Our Song is an offensive, superior song. One of the
Our
songs
song
she's
is
ever
also
written.
arguably the best song on debut.
It is.
So it's like, it's hard to put it at the bottom of this list.
But taking into consideration that we are ranking this based on what it does for the end of the album, what it does for the story of the album, I just feel like Our Song doesn't need to be the album closer. Now, I do think there's something nice about her being like, you know, I grabbed a napkin, wrote down Our Song, like kind of like summarizing all of these songs that she's written about this boy.
I like that,
And how like it ends with their song. So I do think that there is still some symbolism in that. I just don't think it's as strong as all of the other album closes.
I completely agree, and my reasoning is exactly the same. I just don't feel like it necessarily needed to be the album closer. And I think it's for the same reasons that we kind of spoke about when bringing up Tim McGraw in the album openers. I think that Debut as a concept album, as a storytelling album, is the least strong. It's her first album. It's a collection of songs that obviously she'd written over quite a few years. And there isn't as necessarily like a clear-cut like relationship or storyline that she's following in Debut.
Yeah.
Which means that I think that there's quite a few songs on the album that could have opened or closed it.
Totally.
And I just didn't feel like Our Song was like a real obvious album closer in the way that some of these are.
Totally. I think I accidentally said the other day when we were in the car, I was like, you know, maybe even like A Place in This World could have been the album closer. Or, you know, I think that there are other songs that would have worked. And I do feel bad that we're kind of ranking Debut so low on both the openers and the closers, but it's just not as strong as a concept album. No. And we are focusing on the concept when we're talking about the album openers and closers.
Yeah, I just need to take this opportunity to say that I am the most excited for Debut Taylor's version, and nobody's talking about it. And it kind of makes sense. You know, there's only 2 left and everyone's hyped for Rep.
It's hard to go against
let us not forget that Debut TV is coming.
Okay, would you like to go next with your number 9?
Yes, I would. And I think that you're going to be quite surprised by this one. Because I don't think that you expect me specifically to put this here.
Okay, I'm scared.
My number 9 is Hoax.
What?
Yeah.
What?
I am very intrigued to see why you're... Obviously, yours is not... It's not number 9 for you, so I'm very intrigued to see what you have to say about it.
I don't disagree with that placement, but it's just like, I thought that you were going to be the Hoax representative of
but this is why I said I think you're going to be surprised.
Okay.
I am a Hoax fucking stan.
Yes.
Like, I love Hoax with every fiber in my being.
You're really being an objective queen here.
I'm trying.
Yeah, okay.
I'm really trying.
Yeah.
I do think that obviously there's multiple kind of different stories told on this album, some fictional, some true, maybe more related to Taylor's, like the loss of her master recordings and all of that. But I think because there's quite a few different things happening on Folklore, I guess I kind of feel similarly to Debut in the sense that there might have been some other songs that it could have ended with. It could have ended with Peace, in my opinion, you know. Maybe it could have ended with Epiphany.
Yeah.
Like, I guess I just kind of feel like, I don't know, I guess I also think about the fact that in the Long Pond sessions, she speaks about how she doesn't even really fully know herself what Hoax is about.
Yeah.
She's kind of just written it and it's just a feeling. So I think for me, when I think about what a song means to close out a certain story or a certain album, like, Hoax it didn't need to be Hoax, in my opinion.
I totally get that.
Yeah, but I fucking love Hoax.
It's a superior song.
Okay? But please tell me you're fucking number 9.
Okay, you're not going to be surprised by this.
Okay.
My number 9 is Change.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that.
Change is like my least favorite song on Fearless.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure why, it's just a feeling. And I'm trying to be objective here, but I do feel like Change just doesn't, it doesn't punch the same way as her other album closes. I do think that there is a good message there, like starting with Fearless and ending with Change. Like, she obviously wants to get something, she wants to achieve something. So to start fearlessly and then to hope for change, I do like that message.
You always have things to say about the concept of Fearless, and it's actually so fucked. Like, you always have the most offensive things to say. Like, that is so true what you just fucking said. I've never thought about it like that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But because Fearless is like the concept
Fearless is the concept is like, absolutely superior.
Yeah, but I am always particularly fucked up by Fearless.
You are.
Sonically, melodically, and just impact wise, I don't think it brings it home. I think it's kind of like she did it better with Long Live, if that makes sense. Like, it's like a wannabe Long Live, in my opinion. You know, what's your number 8?
Well, no, you have to go number 8 now.
Okay, great. Well, this kind of works because my number 8 is Hoax.
Okay, yeah, that does work. That does work. Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, because your first reaction made me feel like maybe you were real strong about Hoax being a good closer.
I was expecting you to be the representative.
And I knew it would surprise you. So yes. I understand. But yeah, cool.
I think that her nodding back to Reputation in that song with, you know...
It still hurts underneath my scars from when they pulled me apart.
Yeah, but what you did was just as dark.
Yeah.
I do think she's really... nodding to the re-records, the masters being stolen and Reputation there, and I think that that's a really nice way to tie up folklore since it's exploring that first like heartbreak of losing her albums. But I agree with what you said about how when she said she doesn't even know what it's about kind of thing, like there's a lot of mixed messaging in there, which I don't think wraps up the album as nicely as some other things.
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny though, because when I think about it, I'm like, it's still a nice album closer. I actually do like it to close out that specific album, but it's not as strong as other album closers.
Totally.
It's just not.
And to your argument about Willow not being as strong as album opener on Evermore, I do think that the fact that that story kind of continues in those albums, it kind of makes the end of Folklore and the beginning of Evermore maybe not as
It's a bit more seamless.
Yes, they kind of... They don't.
It's hard to pull them apart. Yeah. My number 8.
Yeah.
I think that I might be
I'm so scared.
Murdered alive.
Oh no.
By this fandom.
Okay.
For saying this.
Oh.
It's just my opinion. I'm open to be wrong. I don't even know if I fully agree with myself on this one, but this is just where I've put it, and it just is what it is, and I need you to respect my opinion and my right to an opinion.
I'm so terrified.
My number 8 is Mastermind.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, you seem not as offended as I thought you would be.
No, not as offended.
Okay.
There was places I was going, but
okay.
It's fine. It's
all right,
fine.
fine.
No. Yeah,
Okay.
that makes sense for you.
Yeah. So,
That you might be.
my personal opinion about Mastermind aside, like, it is not by far my favorite song on Midnights. And obviously that's not how we're approaching this list anyway.
Yeah.
Obviously the concept is fucking superior, and we as a fandom will be referencing Mastermind for the end of time when it comes to Taylor Swift, because she is a fucking mastermind and she's a fucking genius, and the fact that she has a song like this is so superior.
Yeah.
But I think that in the same, I guess for similar reasons that I put Lavender Haze also at number 8 in my album openers list, I think that Midnights is such an exploration of a relationship breakdown and a reflection on previous relationships. And so when I think about Midnights as a concept album, Mastermind fits into that narrative a little less.
Yeah, I understand.
So to close out that kind of exploration with Mastermind, like, I do think it's great because it ends on a more positive note, which I love.
I'll talk about Mastermind when I get to it, but I do think that because there is the 3 a.m. edition, I think that that does break the strength of that album opener. That's all I'll say on that.
Number 7.
Your number 7.
Oh. So my number 7 is Change.
Okay, lovely.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. Okay, we're doing some.
We're actually,
things.
yeah, it's actually quite similar.
Yeah.
The reason that I put Change higher than the other 3 that we've spoken about so far is because I do somewhat disagree with you in the sense that Fearless as a concept album is amazing. I understand how, I mean, do you know what? No, I actually have things to say about this.
Okay.
I think that Change fits into the concept of Fearless so well because the entire song is about fearing that they won't necessarily reach that success, but actually not fearing it at all. It being like, we haven't found that success yet, but these things will change. We will.
Yeah,
I am
which kind of links
fearless.
back to Fearless.
I
yeah.
am fearless in my I don't know, the direction that I'm heading in with my band, which is what Change the song is about. If you don't know, she wrote it about her and her band, like essentially like finding that success. And I think she wrote it after they won a really big award, like one of the first awards that she had ever won. And she really wanted to celebrate that because it was like, oh my God, like we've won. We finally win. She literally says it. Does actually fit into that Fearless narrative really perfectly. She obviously put Change at the end of this album, not knowing what Fearless the album would go on to do, but it was the first time she won Album of the Year. Love Story was her first huge successful hit single. And so to be able to close out that, it aged very well as an album closer. It's so triumphant. And that's exactly what Fearless is. It wraps up that feeling very, very well.
No, I get that. I think that those are all really valid reasons.
Cool. Thank you.
My number 7 is Mastermind.
Okay.
So
we are actually kind of similar
We've
here.
switched Change and Mastermind.
Yeah.
And I think that I agree with everything you said about Mastermind. I think the reason for me it's above Change is because maybe just coming at this time in her career, I think that it really led us into a different side of her. that we kind of all knew, but the fact that she actually put it into a song was very concerning.
Like the fact that she's a fucking genius? Is that what you mean? Yeah, cool.
I think also the bridge is maybe one of the most vulnerable things she's ever said to us. Like her saying,
that's so true.
I'm only
no one wanted to play with me as a little kid. I've been scheming like a criminal ever since.
And this is the first time I felt the need to confess. That's fucked up. And then also, I'm only cryptic and Machiavellian because I care. I think that it perfectly wrapped up her entire career into this little package for us to really understand her and where she's at right now.
No, you make some good points here.
I do think that that's slightly more significant to where she is and the Taylor Swift she is today.
No, you make some good points because I think that Midnight's coming when it did, you know, embarking on the Eras tour, which celebrates her albums to date, but also Midnight's being a reflection on past relationships that are explored in all of her previous eras.
Which links to the re-records. So that all happening at the same time as
Mastermind wrapping up. It's almost better as an my first 10 albums closer than it is as like a Midnight specific closer.
It's almost like a summary today.
It's like a summary today.
Yeah.
It is. That's a good point. I also think as well, something that we spoke about in our openers video about when I think I said it when I was talking about my placement of Lavender Haze and how I said that I actually think that Midnight's is a deeply vulnerable album and Lavender Haze doesn't feel as vulnerable to me as most of the album. But you make a really good point with the Mastermind bridge being one of the most vulnerable lyrics she's ever written. So rounding out, you know, a very deep kind of, just like personal album with a lyric like that is good.
She kind of like from each end, it's like slightly less vulnerable to where you get into the middle of the album, which is extremely vulnerable. But I also think because she was confused around the time of releasing Midnights, it makes sense that she hasn't been as on the nose with it all.
Yeah, just like really punchy about her confidence and who she is and everything.
But Mastermind also has an indifference to it. It has like, to me, it's not necessarily a happy or sad song.
No, I agree.
And I think that that's an interesting way to end Midnight when she's in the midst of such confusion.
You're right. I do think that it wraps up the feeling of it as well because she really is trying to find her feet again. When you think about it as an album that is like exploring her feelings as her relationship breaks down, it's like she's really battling between the side of her that feels, I guess, like squashed down in this relationship and not able to shine and be who she is, and that bringing on its own feelings of like confusion and sadness and insecurity, whilst also paired with like finding her feet again, coming out of the pandemic and being like, I am fucking Taylor Swift.
Totally. And, you know, if you're offended with where we've ranked Mastermind, I just want to say that I will be touching on this slightly again at the end of the video.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. I really appreciate your points about Mastermind.
Thank you. I appreciate your points about Change.
Thank you. Because
they're both superior.
I am reconsidering now. You have to do your number 6.
Is it number 6?
Yes.
So I hate this, but it's the only way it can go. Because the rest from here on out are the most superior songs I've ever heard. So my number 6 is Daylight.
Same.
I thought you might say that. Wait, imagine if it's the same from here on out. I'm actually died.
It honestly could be.
Daylight is such a fucked up song.
God, it's such a good song.
Oh, God. I was listening to the bridge this morning and I was like, I can't believe she wrote the lyric. I used to think love would be burning red, but it's golden.
Do you know what? That was the original and then it was bought by me.
Oh. You're
like,
right.
I felt the same hearing I used to think love would be burning red.
But it's golden.
As I felt when listening to the Last Great American Dynasty bridge for the first time.
I mean, you know, just to end an album that is about love and is called Lover, talking about her love feeling like daylight, her love feeling so warm and clear and light. It's kind of like, you know, it kind of reminds me of how she could talk about Fearless. Like that feeling that she wanted to feel in a relationship and how she manages to put it into these metaphors, these concepts that make you really understand what she's trying to say, what that feels like.
Yeah.
And Daylight does that so fucking well. Coming off the back of Reputation, which is so dark.
Yeah.
And now we have, you know, this nod to even Midnight's being in the future. Like, there's so many connections to her previous and future work. I mean, the fact that it calls back to Red, like we just said, like this growth, it shows this growth in an evolution in her relationships and in her love.
Yeah.
I mean, we have it tattooed on our body.
We have Daylight lyrics tattooed on our body. We do.
We have
we do.
You Are What You Love.
Yeah. I think people do have this like misconception of Reputation being like this dark, angry kind of album. When you actually look at it, it's probably the most loved up album she's got.
Yeah.
But I do think that its imagery is dark.
Yes.
And obviously we know her mental health was in a darker state when entering that relationship. She is focused on things that she fucking hates. Like Kanye fucking West, right? So to end the next album with I Want to Be Defined by the Things That I Love is... It's such a contrast and so spectacular.
It is, you're right.
But in terms of just looking at Lover as an album specifically, I think that it's interesting. You know, I think with time I have realized that Lover is full of a lot of different feelings when it comes to love. It's not just love. I actually think Reputation is more straightforward love than Lover actually is. And especially when you get towards the end of the track list on Lover, you start getting more of those like, ooh, is everything okay here? Like False God, Afterglow.
I actually don't think she's ever given us a straight up love album, now that I think about it. Like, I don't think we've had that yet. And
no,
I think
she hasn't done that.
We will maybe
we
get that in the future.
Yeah.
But every love album has had a parallel message. Yeah. That's honestly completely separate.
You're right. Yeah. No, we're waiting for that.
We're waiting for that.
We're waiting for that. So I think Daylight coming where it is with the track list that kind of just comes before it, I don't know. I guess I kind of feel a little bit like it's more connected to the start of the album with like Lover and stuff like that.
Well, I was just thinking about its tie to I Forgot That You Existed, because obviously that was my least favorite album opener. And I just think that Love is one of those albums where the opening and closing tracks are not... They're not as strong as some of the other albums.
Yeah.
I do think though that Daylight obviously is talking about this lightness and this kind of
which
feeling,
I do think Lover as an album embodies.
And I think I Forgot You Existed embodies, right? This lightness, like forgetting kind of thing. So that I do think that they tie in quite well together actually, but just that it's not the strongest for me. Yeah,
I guess I'm finding myself struggling to explain fully why it is that Daylight is here for me. And I think when I think about it, it's really just quite as simple as it sits in the middle because it is in the middle.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not a bad album closer, but it's not her best album closer. So it just sits in the middle.
It is a superior song.
It's a superior fucking song.
But yeah, I disagree. I think it just sits in the middle.
I'm also, upon reflection and time, really happy that she didn't end up naming this album Daylight and named it Lover, because I think that naming the album Lover, I mean, when discussing or exploring the feelings that you have towards your lover, it is mixed in with your fights and your down times and also the really like the high points and all of that.
I think there was
and
too
Daylight
much,
wouldn't have felt like a right wrap up.
I agree.
Of what the whole album explores.
Complexity in hindsight.
It's not all Daylight.
Yeah, it's not.
It's just not.
It's not.
Okay, number 5 for me is Long Live. I'm so sorry.
What?
Sorry, I know.
Number 5?
Number 5, yeah. I actually, I guess I kind of feel like, once again, there are other album closers that are stronger than Long Live. I think that, in saying that though, Long Live is a fucking superior album closer, and I don't think that there is another song on Speak Now that it could have ended with. But I think when looking at a song that closes out a certain story, I do think it closes out the message of Speaking Now really well, but Speak Now as an album and a concept is less of a storytelling, like straightforward narrative and more of like a few different examples of when she really felt like she needed to speak up, right? So I think that other album closers kind of do their job in a slightly better way than what Long Live does.
I don't think I've ever disagreed with you. There's something more in my entire life. So this is fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 5 is Begin Again.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
I mean, I'm going to let you talk about beginning.
I feel exactly the same as you do about me having long limbs.
I don't know if you do.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Obviously, like, you know, Red's about heartbreak, and the fact that she is beginning again at the end of the album is so iconic and superior. Mm-hmm. But that's where it sits for me, is how I feel. Okay. I love that she keeps saying, but I do, throughout the entire song, because what I was fathoming this morning when I was listening to it is how much I love that is kind of alluding to the fact that she has all of this history of how she's been in a relationship or how she's felt, and that feeling when you're on a first date with someone and how they don't know all of that. You know, they don't know that history like you do. Mm-hmm. And I think it's so superior that she keeps kind of reminding the listener of that. Superior. Because you, as the listener, have your own experience and how you feel. And I don't know, it's just, there's something really special about that in the way that the song is delivered. And also, you've just listened to the entire album, so you know what that history is when she says, but I do.
Absolutely.
And of course, you know, you throw your head back laughing like a little kid is one of my favorite lyrics, like, ever. The fact that she's like, the fact that she's falling in love with this person because they think she's funny and she's never felt that before. So many unique feelings in that song. I just think it's superior. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it's not my favorite album closer. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay,
I will also touch on that more when we get there.
I'm so passionate about my number 4. I'm so passionate about my number 4.
Okay.
My number 4 is Evermore.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel so passionately about Evermore. I feel like Evermore is really underrated as an album closer. Like, I think that no one really gives a fuck about it. Similar to what we're saying with Hoax, like, it doesn't really have an ending to Folklore as much as we feel. But Evermore, I feel, does. Like, it really gives us an ending. I feel like it really wraps up the pain that she's expressed throughout Folklore and Evermore. Yep. She's taking us through that pain that she's experienced in Folklore and Evermore. She's wrapping it up, being like, I think this pain is going to be forevermore. And then at the end, she flips that story to being like, I realize that it's not going to be evermore. And I feel like it's a really healing moment for her. She's reflecting on the Reputation era. Yeah. Like she kind of does in Long Story Short, which is also on Evermore, but we have like just such a healing energy. Yeah. And like saying like Catching My Death, I think really refers to her reputation. Yeah. I love on Evermore how much like hindsight we kind of get about Rep and how much we explore that, because I think that it was such a fucked up period for her. Yeah. I think it's really important that we've gotten some healing songs, or I guess explored her journey with her a little bit more through Evermore.
I completely agree. I completely agree. Everything that you just said, I completely agree.
I can't believe you ranked it higher than me. I feel that.
So passionately about Evermore.
Okay, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is New Year's Day.
Oh, okay, yeah.
New Year's Day perfectly wraps up Reputation. I think that it's starting as an album, you know, she sings Ready for It, like, I know I'm gonna be with you, so I take my time, and ending in this solid, secure relationship. We actually see the relationship forming and solidifying as the album progresses. And then we end on a song like New Year's Day that's just like, I want to be with you forever. I want your midnights, but I'll also be with you through the shit. Yeah. I'll be cleaning up bottles with you on New Year's Day. Yeah. In saying that, I do think there's something that's maybe a little more simple about New Year's Day as a song, which is why it's sitting at number 4 compared to other songs. I think that there are other stories explained. Okay.
Like a more simple concept. Yeah. In terms of, I think maybe you're meaning more simple sound.
Yes, but also I think that because Reputation does touch on an entirely separate narrative as well, it doesn't feel like it touches on that as...
Oh, okay. I'm excited to talk about that.
Yeah. It doesn't touch on it as I guess what I'm trying to say is that I feel like the songs that I have in my top 3 are really like encompassing of the album.
Yeah, fair enough.
And New Year's Day is just slightly not, and that's why it's number 4. But I still think it is one of her best album closes for all of the reasons that I said. Oh, okay, so now it's my turn for number 3.
Number 3.
Okay, so my number 3 is Evermore.
Evermore, yeah. Okay, I think I could guess your ranking for
Well, I don't know. I feel very passionately about Evermore as an album closer, and for a lot of the reasons that you said were things that were swirling through my mind. I think the biggest thing for me is that it's not just an Evermore album closer, it's a folklore album closer. It closes out the entire period, which is so important, and I think that you mentioned that it touches on the Reputation era, which, our opinion is that specifically that first verse, like motion capture, put me in a bad light, like all of that. And like, I've been down since July, like, and she said that, you know, the summer of 2016 is the apocalypse and like all of that. But I do also think that it touches on the turmoil and pain that she experienced from losing her master recordings, right? And I think that when you look at Folkmore as a era, combining those two albums together, Folklore touches more on the loss of her master recordings, and Evermore reflects back on the Reputation era a lot more. So to combine both of those really horrible things that she's gone through into kind of one song in Evermore is a perfect way to summarize the entire 2 albums that came out.
And I love that it also feels like a bit of a love letter to the fans, in my opinion.
I was just about to say that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. In the bridge specifically, it feels like in the cracks of light, I thought of you, like all of that.
I swear,
like,
you were there.
And that coming in the middle of the pandemic, when she was obviously going through a lot of pain because of what happened to her with her masters, but also not being able to go on Loverfest and never knowing if she'd be able to tour again, like holding on to it's like
fans, love, or just the fact that we were there even through the darkest times for her.
And by the time we get a song and an album like Evermore, she's already seen the success and how Folklore was received, so she knows the fans are there even if she can't connect with them in the way that she's used to doing.
So true.
And so I think that it's a really beautiful thing for her to touch on in this album closer as well, because these are the pandemic albums, and she's telling the listeners that, like, I feel your love and your support even though I can't be with you right now, and I don't know if I'm ever gonna be with you again. I also think that, like, the floors of the cabin creaking under my steps is a perfect link back into Folklore. So once again, I think closing out the Folklore Evermore era as a whole, I feel so strongly about Evermore. And I just think as well now, with this added context of her Time Person of the Year article, and her saying that the 2 most horrific things that have happened in her life are like Reputation and losing her masters, like, that song embodies those horrible things. And like you said, like, she thought the pain would be forevermore, and then ending it on this hopeful note of like, maybe it's not always going to actually be like this.
That flip of the meaning of Evermore is so powerful.
Evermore could not have been at any other part of this album.
Totally.
It's a perfect album closer. It's a perfect 2 era album closer.
It's the title track as well. And like, that's crazy. She's never like closed with a title track like that before. Like, it's so perfect.
It's a perfect album closer. Like, Evermore is so much more important than Hoax to me as an album closer.
Same.
Like, by long and far. I prefer Hoax as a song.
Yeah.
Like, as someone who's just like enjoying the music.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But I think that Evermore is so important. It's so important.
My number 3 is New Year's Day.
Okay, yeah.
Like, obviously what you said was all superior, and I completely agree. The thing that I would add on to that is how you said you don't feel like it wraps up the whole, like, Reputation kind of message.
Yeah.
And how it's more simple. And I feel like I disagree with that, because I think that it's a metaphor song. Like, first of all, the fact that she thought to compare...
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this.
The turbulence of a relationship and getting to know someone during her darkest period of Reputation to the high of the midnight fireworks on New Year's Eve.
Like, just the celebration of the New Year.
To the cleaning up bottles. I think that perfectly embodies the good and the bad that she went throughout this whole
I do
album.
agree.
I thought you might once I say that.
Yeah.
And like it's just deeply concerning. I find it deeply concerning how she managed to wrap all of that up into this really simple metaphor, but give it such potent imagery of a New Year's Day party. And I think that it's extremely complex for that reason, because it has this double kind of meaning. And I just think it's very concerning that she even managed to think to put it into a song like that. But then also there's like that whole like, you know, don't read the last page, like I'll be there even when things are hard, even when things are shit, which is like exactly what they've kind of been throughout Reputation. And I think also to start the album with this like, are you ready for it energy, like this confidence, this fierceness, and then to go through the journey of Reputation and get to such a delicate, beautiful, sweet song. I think she's really showing us who she actually is there at the end of that. And, you know, you might think she's the Taylor at the beginning of the album, but that's who she is.
Yeah, you're right.
It's the core of who she is, even though she's got this reputation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just love New Year's Day.
No, New Year's Day is such a good album closer.
Rep is always going to be in my top 3.
Yeah.
What can I say? I just can't help myself.
Yeah.
Okay, number 2.
Number 2.
Now I'm like,
God.
okay, which one have you put at top? Because it really could be either one for you.
Yeah.
My number 2 is Clean. Is it
Same.
yours? Oh my God, you put beginning again as number 1. I did it.
No wonder we were both so offended by that placement. No, and I will say before going into any of this next conversation that if I had the choice, I'd put them both equally.
Yeah.
Like for me in my mind, Begin Again and Clean are honestly like it's a millisecond.
Yeah.
It's a millimeter between them as to what they are as album closers. Like I honestly didn't want to have to choose. I would put them equal number 1, but I can't, and so I don't, and so I've chosen Clean.
As an album closer, I mean, there's just, you know, there's so much to say, but I think you guys already know it's so beautiful how it ends the album with this kind of, actually both your top 2 kind of do this. They give like almost like a restart or a freshness to what the story has gone through.
I think the thing that separates Clean from a song like Begin Again though, in terms of its like a new start kind of feel, is Clean is so perfect for an album like 1989 that explores this on and off relationship, because the entire energy behind this relationship and what she explores in the songs on 1989 as well as the new Vault tracks is this concept of on and off. Like no matter what the fuck happens, we always go back to one another. We never go out of style. Like I literally, it doesn't matter how much time I spend away from you, I always fall back into this. And it's like a drug. It's literally like a drug. And so for her to summarize the finally being like out of this situationship and finally ending things with this metaphor of being clean is just absolute perfection.
Totally.
It is absolute perfection.
And then not to mention the production and the sound and the melodies all are so 1989, but also this fresh, different sound, the Imogen Heap vocals and production. It's so unique.
Yeah.
It means so much to so many people. And like you said, like that whole on and off like relationship that's explored on 1989, we needed something really kind of powerful to be washed clean of that. And I think that she perfectly embodied that in Clean.
And then to wrap into as well, like that extra element of like Clean also being related to like the rain pouring down and washing away all my pictures of you, like as well as the being clean from this like addictive person is just... There couldn't have been a better way to wrap up that relationship. It is absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
There is no other fucking song that could have ended 1989.
No, there isn't.
And
definitely not.
Literally, she could have written a different kind of finally we've broken up kind of song, but she wrote the perfect song.
I think that the fact that 1989 is so cohesive and such an incredible album, it's not surprising that the opening and closing track are very high on our list when it comes to ranking these.
Yeah, I think Welcome to New York was both of our number 4 or something on openers,
I think
wasn't
it was 3 for me.
Yeah.
Like the concept is so clear and strong with 1989. The imagery is so clear and strong. So it makes sense that the way she's opened and closed the album feels very impactful, very strong.
Absolutely. And this might not specifically tie into... Pardon?
Same with Red, like
Yes. There's something about Clean as well that I think because of the water imagery, it gives me the blue imagery, and the blue was 1989, and that doesn't necessarily relate to it being an album closer, but I do think that like I really get this like strong, vivid blue color in my mind when I listen to a song like Clean, and so it just perfectly fits the 1989 kind of energy. Good. It's just so good. Clean. I'll never get over it. So Begin Again is my number one, and you know, it did surprise me because obviously State of Grace was also my number one album opener too. So Red has topped both categories for me. I just think that, oh my God, where do I even fucking start? This album exploring such a deep heartbreak for her, to be closed off with this hopeful, like lighter feeling of like, oh my God, like we've just listened to all of this deep heartbreak, her really being in the thick of this emotion, like this like she literally says in All Too Well Again, I'm like, I want to be my old self again, but I'm still trying to find it, like time won't pass, it's like I'm paralyzed by it, but time has passed in Begin Again. I think the thing that really tops it off for me is the fact that there are very specific links into other songs on Red in this song. Like, turn the lock and put my headphones on. He always said he didn't get this song, but I do. How many fucking lyrics do we have on Red referencing the fact that like he wants to listen to like going to his indie concerts or listening to this indie record? He doesn't like her music. Like this narrative of them not agreeing on music and stuff like that. She fucking brings that up here. Hell, what you brought up earlier, the throwing your head back, laughing like a little kid. How many lyrics do we have on Red about him not thinking that she was fucking funny? Not laughing at her jokes. Like, oh my God, it perfectly reflects on the exact relationship that she's exploring, the entirety of Red and the heartbreak that she felt from it. And now she gets to this place where she can reference those specific things that she hated about that relationship or that broke her heart the most, and be like, I don't even care anymore because I'm now realizing that I can begin again with someone new who does embody all of these things that like you couldn't give me. Like, it just embodies Red as an album so perfectly. But Begin Again, are you kidding me? Like,
no, Red is actually too
Red
much.
is her heartbreak album, and she ends with Beginning Again. I am so sorry, but I feel so passionately about Begin Again as an album closer. It is,
I understand,
perfection. And then when I think about like its vibe, the production, the energy of it, like, it's mellow, it's somber, but it's hopeful and it's light, and it's
such a positive end to
it's so,
a really an album.
But it's not
filled
positive
with
and it's like upbeat, like, wow, let's change. Oh my God, I'm falling in love again. Woo, let's party. No. It's just like, no, you feel in the way that it's produced, like this, like, she's still, a part of her is still in that mode of healing.
Absolutely.
She's still hurting. But she's finally seeing those first glimpses of like, maybe there will be someone out there who can love me in the way that I wanted this man to.
We've talked about the bridge and how much we love the bridge and how conversational and flowy it is. And I think that energy is really captured in the bridge because I almost brought him up, but you start to talk about the movies that your family watches, and I actually want to talk about that. She's fathoming real time as she's telling this story.
I have nothing else to say. Begin Again is a perfect album fucking closer. Anyways, please tell me about Long Live.
Long Live.
Please tell me about Long Live.
Guys, I am a Long Live stan. It's my favorite song on Speak Now. But I tried to be objective here, and I just think it's her best album. I just think it's her best album closer. I think that it means so much coming off the back of Fearless, her breakthrough album. Like you said, it's reflecting on the tour and her relationship with her fans and her band. But what it's also gone on to become for her, I just think is simply so iconic.
No, I do agree. Like, everything that's happening with the Eras tour right now and her introducing it to the set list, like, Long Live means so much more being played on the Eras tour.
I just think that Long Live is so special for us as a fandom and for her as an artist and what it's gone on to become. I think in terms of wrapping up Speak Now, like, it does wrap up the fact that she's, you know, she's speaking out loud and she's got this support from her fans and like what that's kind of given to her, and also just everything she's had to overcome to get to that point, like writing an album by herself. I do think that it reflects more on where she's come in her career to that point rather than just that album.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
So that
yeah.
kind of, I feel similarly to like Daylight with that as well. Like there's
there's like a link into Reputation there that like it makes it more significant to end that whole string of albums.
And I think that's how I feel about Evermore, and that's how I feel like sometimes these album closes, they don't just do something for that album, they do something for her entire career up into that point.
It's interesting how that seems to consistently happen, and it's always related to the album just before it. Like Fearless and Speak Now closes, wraps up Fearless and Speak Now really well.
Yeah.
Lover's album closer wraps up Rep and Lover really well. And Evermore's album cover wraps up Folklore and Evermore really well.
And the Mastermind, like we said, up until this point. And I do think that that's something to consider with album closes because her work is all one big story.
It is, yeah.
And I also think that sometimes the album hasn't come alive yet until she's released it to the world. So sometimes she needs to give us an update on what that album was on the next album, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know. I just can't explain it. Hey, like... It
is a very good album closer.
Long live all the, everything we've gone through. I had the time of my life fighting dragons with you. She said that to us.
She did.
I have to put it as number 1.
I just do.
Okay, guys, you're gonna have to let us know if you agree with that.
Yeah.
I know we have other things to discuss, but I just wanted to say that. Let us know your top 10 rankings.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just need to say something.
Yeah, please. Say something.
I'm so urgent to talk about my first bonus one. Can I please?
You can, and I do believe that it's also mine.
Okay, good.
So I think that we need to talk about that first because we know that we've both got it here.
Okay, good. So, oh my god, my foot's cramping again.
Not the fucking foot cramp!
So, our first honourable mention is Dear Reader.
Yeah. Dear Reader is one of my three. Yes.
I simply need to talk about Dear Reader.
Dear Reader is, I'm so sorry, but it wraps up Midnight's way better than Mastermind does, in my opinion.
I agree, Anna, but I think that the two of them together bounce off each other, and that's why I really wanted to talk about this, because I think I can't talk about Mastermind and Midnight's without talking about Dear Reader. I feel so passionately about this. I feel so concerned that she ended for the 3 a.m. edition with Dear Reader.
Dear Reader, yeah.
Because Mastermind, she's kind of putting on a bit more of this front, like she's got it all under control and she's in control and she's manipulating things in the way that she wants to, and why she does that.
Dear Reader is quite specifically the opposite. It's like a loss of control.
Exactly. It's like what we see under the mask almost.
And that wraps into the confusion explored on Midnight's better. Midnight's is confused energy.
And she Dear Reader is Dear Reader. She literally is telling us, do not listen to me. Never
take advice from someone who's falling apart. Midnight's is literally an album of her falling apart, the relationship falling apart. And do you know what? Dear Reader is more true to that.
It is.
It's more objectively, I recognize that this sounds confused and there is confused messages here.
Yeah.
Because I fucking am confused.
Absolutely.
Shit's going on. It's not just today I'm feeling great and then today I'm feeling really shit. It's actually just this is the phase I'm in, both of it, all of it. I'm confused. I'm falling apart.
Absolutely. And what she admits in the bridge there, I think that, like we said, Mastermind bridge is so vulnerable. But then the Dear Reader bridge, I wander through these nights, I prefer hiding in plain sight. That whole uncovering of what she's actually feeling and how she's actually I go home to a house, not a home, alone because nobody's there.
Yeah.
Where I pace in my pen and my friends found friends who care.
Which also, that lyric as well, the going home alone kind of thing, it probably also best touches on the fact that this as an album is really exploring the breakdown of her relationship. And that's something we didn't know listening to Midnight's for the first time. But now with hindsight, you can see so much more clearly why it wraps up this album so well, because she is alone.
Yeah.
That's the fucking point.
Exactly.
And I know that obviously she touches on that concept in You're on Your Own Kid, but You're on Your Own Kid feels so much more focused on the entire exploration of her life and her career, that it's she realizes in all these different string of moments throughout her life that the reality is that she's always been alone no matter what. So you can take it a little bit differently and separately from the fact that the relationship, she's alone out of the relationship.
Yeah, she was still she was hiding in plain sight.
Yeah.
We really feel like Midnight's was hiding in plain sight. The whole breakup was hiding from us, even though she was trying to tell us that. And I think Dear Reader is that first admission of that.
I also think that the way that the song closes is also a perfect representation of exactly what the messages in Midnights is. Like, you should find another guiding light, but I shine so bright.
It's a contradiction,
it's just like, I am not feeling good, but sometimes I am bejeweled.
Totally.
So it's both.
And I think that links really nicely to Mastermind. She's like, in Mastermind, she's saying like, you can't help but like love me in my relationships and in my career because I am a mastermind.
Yeah.
And Dear Rita is like, hey, I know you're going to listen to me, but don't actually listen to me. Like, they both are the same kind of thing, but completely different energy. Yeah. And I love that link together. I just think that Dear Rita needs to be considered when we're talking about the closing of Midnights, because it just doesn't make sense without it.
And I also think Midnights as an album is really quite different to the rest of her albums in the sense that we have gotten obviously like bonus and deluxe versions of, you know, her first 5 albums at least, and then Folklore and Evermore as well. But I think the concept of a 3 a.m. edition, like there's something that feels more thought out about Midnight's bonus tracks when compared to her previous deluxe albums.
Totally.
It is its own
thing,
additional version of the album, so I do think it's more thought out. So I do think Dear Rita
has to sit on top.
More important to her as an additional closer to an album than like arguably any of her albums before it.
Totally. We were due for a song like this. Due for a song where Taylor explores how it feels to tell us her diary entries. Dear Rita. I love that she called it Dear Rita because we're listening, but to her songs are like diary entries. And so she's literally talking to us in that song.
They're also kind of like storybooks, right? And I think that ties in perfectly with the fact that it is so horrific that she lost her master recordings because they are her story. They are like her books. So whether it's a diary or a novel or however you want to look at it, it's the story of her life, and a story is read. So it's Dear Rita.
Dear
Rita is very important.
If Dear Rita was the album closer for Midnights like that we were considering in the ranking, it would be higher for me than where I put Mastermind.
I completely agree.
I needed to let you guys know that.
I completely agree.
That's why Mastermind was a little bit lower because Dear Rita to me is the superior album.
I completely agree.
Okay, do you want to tell us your next bonus?
I do.
Yeah.
So one of the other ones that I have chosen is It's Time to Go.
Same.
No! Oh my god.
We might have the same top 3.
There's so many options for what we could have chosen as these 3. That's pretty fucking wild. It's Time to Go. First of all, the name of it. It's time to go. It's time to move on from this sister album situation.
Yeah.
It's time to go from this fucking record label who's fucking me over, and that perfectly ties in again with this narrative explored of her losing her master recordings. I also just think that like the message that it sends, like, and all of the different examples that she uses, you know, I think that like 20 years at your job, or like the sister, or like, you know,
when he looks at a girl at like that,
all of these different examples, like just the general message behind like you knowing in your soul when it's time to go. Like, it would have felt wrong coming at any other time on the album. It needed to close it out. It needed to close it out. And
she really did something with the end of Evermore.
She did.
I feel like It's Time to Go is not appreciated enough.
I agree.
Like,
we love It's Time to Go.
It's so wise. She honestly helped me fathom some things with that song. I love the contrast, the change from, you know, in your soul when it's time to go. Like, she's really talking to you as the listener, and then that flip to, I know.
Yeah.
When it's time, that just gets me every single time. I'm like, oh my fucking God, this is songwriting that is deeply concerning. Evermore is such a good album closer.
Yeah.
It's so healing, like we talked about, but I think that It's Time to Go has this extra layer of healing. There's so much wisdom.
Yeah.
Actually, Evermore is just so concerning.
I'm so sorry, but it's really fucked up that she says, sometimes giving up is the strong thing, sometimes to run is the brave thing, sometimes walking out is the one thing that can find you the right thing.
And the fact that she ends, it's always been one of my favorite parts, is how she just goes, and then you go. You just go. She's literally like talking to you because she's like, no, I know what you're thinking. Like, I know that you think that you can't. She's like giving you the space to feel it, and then she's like, you just go. like literally listen to me. You just go. Oh my fucking God. She gets it. Like she gets what that feeling is like.
She does.
The last thing I need to say is the fact that she says in this song, he's got my past frozen behind glass, but I've got me.
It's too important.
If that's not the epitome of the re-records and her fathoming her power, that she can be like, no, I've got me. I'm the one that wrote these. I'm the one that can do this. And I think that anyone can relate to that. Like, even though you've spent years with someone, you are you, and you've always got you, and you can do whatever you want with that.
And all they'll ever have is this past version of you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't represent who you are.
That's not the present moment. Because all you have is the now. Anyway, very alarming.
Very fucking alarming. Oh my God, what is your third honourable mention?
Oh my God, this was so hard, and I feel like it's a bit of a cop-out.
Mine was a little, this was a little hard for me too. There was another one I was toying up with, which I'm not going to mention because we're only doing 3.
No, I know, and I want to mention them all.
Same.
I want to mention all the other ones, but that would defeat the purpose.
Same.
So it's really hurting me that I won't be able to be like, but I also loved...
Yeah.
Anyway, it's the lakes.
Oh, mine's not.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
But given you've said it, that was the one that I was tossing up with.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that we have another representative.
Yeah. That was my other option. So
I think that the reason I had to put the lakes in here, I feel like it's a bit of a cop-out because it's like literally her last 3 albums, but I do think she's been so intentional with the bonus tracks on her last 3 albums that it's hard to deny it. And I think also because I ranked Hoax so low, kind of like similar to Mastermind, it's because I had this in consideration. The Lakes to me is a much better album closer for Folklore.
It actually kind of is though. The Lakes is so much, it is such a better album closer than Hoax. It is.
It really wraps up that pain that she's going through with losing her re-records. To let some name-dropping sleaze tell me what are my words worth it's so illegal that she managed to wrap in her experience with the re-records, but also the literature side of that as well.
Absolutely,
when considering
which
the
ties into
and
the
poets.
Storytelling element of Folklore too.
And
but then also like wanting to go to the lakes,
Yes.
but not without my muse, ties into the parts of it that touch on Joe. Like Invisible String and Peace. Like it's actually
the perfect wrap up.
It kind of gives Begin Again. Like it actually does touch on so many things that are explored in the album as a whole. It touches on the love and the relationship. It touches on the storytelling, the literature.
Yeah.
It touches on the losing her master recordings.
Yeah. And I think also just saying like, this is all so fucked, I want to get away. Like I think it's the first time we've heard her talk about that as well. Like,
that also perfectly wraps into the Folklore Cabin in the Woods situation, which arguably might be like, it's really like the song that feels like it's kind of like running away to the woods.
Absolutely.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, like the escape that Folklore was for her.
Yeah.
It's also just some of the best lyrics she's ever written.
Yeah. The Lakes
Very
is objectively
alarming.
one of the best songs she's ever written.
Very concerning. I know that Hoax is too, but like, I don't know what you want me to do about what she says in Lakes.
No, I get it. I get it.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's a better album closer than Hoax, and that's just how I feel.
And you're right, it is.
Yeah.
And like you said with Dear Reader, if the Lakes had been a contender on the main list, the Lakes would have been much higher for me than Hoax.
I agree.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what have you picked?
My third option.
Wait, I have 2 in my head that I'm thinking.
Oh, please tell me.
No. Okay, you want me to say it now?
Yeah, I want you to try and guess.
Okay, I think that it might be either Timeless or New Romantics.
It's Timeless.
Okay. That was my way of getting to put another sneaky one.
Okay, so you would have chosen New Romantics. Good to know.
Well,
fuck, New Romantics is a good alternative album closer for 1989. I'm so sorry. Timeless. Do you know what? I actually don't even feel like I have like a super strong thing that's like, yeah, this is why. Timeless is the best vault track closer of all the vault track closers we've gotten so far.
I agree.
I think of the vault tracks, Timeless needed to come last.
Yeah.
I don't know if I necessarily think that it's better than Long Live, because Long Live is seriously superior. But the concept is absolutely fucking offensive. I think it is deeply Taylor Swift fucking coded.
Yeah.
I
With
think
all the antique and the storytelling, like there's so many things that she mentions in Speak Now that she brings up again in Timeless. Yeah.
I think that like the nod to almost like the Romeo and Juliet kind of thing in the second verse and second chorus too, like kind of perfectly, again in the way that Long Live kind of wraps up Fearless and Speak Now, I think it wraps up Fearless and Speak Now in the same way with all this like princessy castle dragon kind of imagery as well. Like it kind of has that element to it. I also think touching on literature there as well is also important when ending an entirely self-written album. I think Speak Now as an entire album is simply fucking timeless, especially given how important it is as her soul songwriting album. Like it's just it's timeless. It's timeless.
Well, and that concept alone in a way makes for such a good album closer, right? Like something being timeless almost gives this like living on forever energy, where I think that there's something so grand and big about ending it on. But both of the album closers for Speak Now are so big, like Long Live and then like Long Live, Long Live,
timeless.
That is timeless. Like I'm so sorry they give the same energy. Like it's forever going to exist this way. That's kind of fucked up.
Absolutely. It's very, very fucked up. I honestly don't have anything else to say. I also just love the song. Timeless is a superior fucking song.
I'm really
Absolutely
glad.
offensive.
I was kind of hoping that you would do Timeless.
Timeless is so fucking good.
Wow. Okay.
Wow, that really for a moment there headed in a direction I was not expecting, especially with, I love that we both put Begin Again and Long Live at the exact same point in our list, but then the other had it as number one.
Totally.
Like that's quite hilarious to me.
It is quite hilarious.
Guys, I'm so intrigued to see what you guys think. Please let us know in the comments down below. I love doing this. And if you guys are interested as well, we have had requests in the past to like actually rank every kind of track, like track 2s, track 3s, track 4s. So if that's something you would like to see from us in future, let us know.
I think that the top request at the moment is for track 5s.
Fucking hell. We do need to do track 5s, like actually immediately. I actually really want to rank track 5s.
I'm terrified of that exercise.
Wait, I actually really want to do that soon. Help! I love that.
Okay, guys, thanks for watching.
Yes.
Love you guys, and
Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
Oh my God, this is going to be our last video of the year.
This might, well, oh my God, it might be our last video of the year.
Think.
Yeah, guys, we may not see you until early Jan.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And Happy New Year.
And thank you so much for such an amazing year. Thank you so much for all of your support. Wow, we've actually really been through a lot this year. We did our entire Midnight's breakdowns at the beginning of this year. That took us like 6 months of this year. That was crazy. Love you guys so much. Thank you always for your support, and we will see you next year.
Thank you for the best year, literally ever.
Love you guys. Bye.